What is up, Flagger Foul sports fans? We are finally back with a new episode. I'm your host, Chris, and we have Tarun on as well, other host Tarun.
Hey, I'm right
And
here.
today we're going to be talking about a new hot topic in the NBA, which is Kyrie Irving will not get his vaccine. You ready to take it away?
Yep. So let's kind of take a look at what's happening with Kyrie as a situation. I'll kind of go over that. So Kyrie, obviously, he hasn't had the vaccine, and the rule in Brooklyn or New York in general is that you have to have the vaccine for different stuff such as practice and games. So
To go into a
Kyrie's
gym, yeah.
Yeah, to go into a gym. So Kyrie's still refusing that. The government did, the state did allow him to go to attend practice because it was a private business, but he will not be able to play home games, and he will only be able to play away games unless he gets the vaccine. And at first, the Nets kind of had hope that it was just like Kyrie doing one of his things that he always does, but now it's looking bad. Katie and Steve Nash all have very little to no hope that Kyrie will actually get the vaccine. And that leads us to our latest report that the Brooklyn Nets say Kyrie Irving won't be able to play as a part-time player. They won't allow him to play only away games. They're basically telling him you can either play all games or you can play none of the games. So that's kind of the situation we have here with Kyrie. Kyrie's kind of always been known for doing that. We can get more into his games played and stats like that later on. But Chris, what do you have to think about this?
Something I really have to say is the main guy that people were saying he was going to get traded for, too. Another thing that's been screwing the Nets up now is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is coming back to the Sixers.
Yep, that
He
did
just
happen.
showed back up at the Sixers. Whatever it is it not training camp anymore? I guess preseason or
Yeah, and he
um,
took the COVID vaccine or the COVID test, which you're required to do if you want to play.
yeah. So he is just without any words or anything. I guess I did a video on Rich Paul a long time ago how I thought Rich Paul was overstepping his power as an agent with this. I guess that he just gave up and the team just would not trade him, so they decided to bring him back. But that is something that the Nets are going to have to look out for now because the Nets, that was their main trade target reportedly at least, and now the Sixers probably won't trade him because he's going to play. So
And I will tell you something else too about these Kyrie trade rumors. It's been expected around the league that if Kyrie is traded, he's going to immediately retire.
just retire, yeah.
Yeah, he's just going to retire. So that again makes it so that most teams will not want Kyrie. There may be some teams who think they can kind of get him to play, but I'd say right now, if you're even looking at the possibility of a trade, which it's probably not going to happen, no Cali team will take him because they have the same rules there. So honestly, really, the only good fit would be the Sixers. But now, as Chris, you said, there that's not really going to happen. But I just wanted to say that like Kyrie, he's been known to do these kind of things. Like I'm gonna pull up his stats right now. Games played. So in 2011, he did play 51 games, but that was a short season. I believe it was 65 games. Is that
It
correct?
was 66 games, so if he played
66 games.
51, that means that he missed 15.
Okay. Then after that, in 2012 to 13, he played 59. 2013 to 14, he played 71. The next year, he played 75, which that is his highest games played per season. He then went 2015 to 16. He played 53 games. Then he had a 72 game season. Then he had a 60 game season, a 67 game season. Then in 2019 to 2020, he had a 20 game season. And then last year, he had a 54 game season. So you can already see that he's kind of missing a good chunk of games
And again,
already.
real quick, just sorry to button.
Yeah,
Um, Last season and the season before were both also shortened. That's the
yeah,
only thing.
yeah, that's shortened. But I would still say 20 games played, even for the bubble season, is a bit low.
Yeah, it's still very low. They played 60 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And last year played 54. Season was a bit short, but it wasn't
How many did they
that
play
short.
last year? 70?
Yeah, it was 70 or 71, something around there. But he still missed like 20 games. So he's always had that kind of mentality of he's going to miss games. Especially last year, he had the personal leave. So he kind of just does whatever he feels like. And for some reason, it's getting away. So I will say I'm happy that the Nets kind of decided to not let it slide anymore. Before, the behavior we'd get from the Nets organization is that they just say, "Oh, just let Kyrie be; he'll be back." But now I think they're starting to take it seriously. That this is just something that Kyrie does, and I think that it's kind of I think it's good for the league in general that the Nets are standing up to Kyrie for this because it brings back a little power into the ownership. So players like Kyrie can't just keep skipping games, skipping their jobs for no reason.
Yeah. Just one other thing I wanted to add is he only played 11 games at Duke as well, so he actually missed college as well, missed college
Yeah.
games.
So now let's take into let's just assume that just ignore that the whole retirement thing. Let's say that the Nets do want to trade him. What teams would you look at if you were the Nets? Obviously, we'd have to exclude every Cali team as well in that.
Hmm. I'm not sure who would even take him at this point.
Yeah. But just for the sake of like just looking at a balanced trade, what would you do for a trade? Because technically, right now, Kyrie can play all away games. The rules for the gyms are only for home players, at least in Brooklyn. So if he joins another team, he's allowed to play all the games. Now, if he actually plays all the games, that's another story. But he's allowed to play all the games.
Hmm. Who would you even look at?
I would look at the Pacers. I'd say for the Nets, like, do they really need another guard? No, but with Kyrie's big name, and obviously Kyrie's very good, which is like the worst part of all this. He's not just someone who's going to get sent back to the G League, not someone that if they don't get the vaccine like this, they'll get kicked off the team. It is Kyrie, which is like why this is such a big deal. But I would say right now the Nets, their main problem is room protection because they have LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, but they aren't the best rim protectors. They do have Nick Claxton, who's still developing. But I'd say if they can kind of flip Kyrie for a combination of Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner, that would make the Nets a much better team than they were now, especially since Miles Turner has led the league in blocks before, as well as the fact that he's not even that bad of a shooter. And replacing Kyrie with a bigger Malcolm Brogdon would be good for the team as well. But obviously, the only way the Pacers would ever accept that deal is if they knew that Kyrie was going to play. He's done all this like personal leave stuff like that, so that's why again I was saying before the trades are very unlikely. But the Nets are running out of options. Like they can't just waste his $30 million salary with him playing 40 games max, probably with his personal leaves like 20 games the season, and then no home playoff games either.
To me, the other thing too is like, especially with the Eastern Conference teams, the Nets are probably going to. The Nets are still probably a favorite to win the championship, right? So it's like, why would a team want to improve the Nets?
Yeah, there's also that. Like even without Kyrie, I would say with just Harden and KD, as well as the fact that they got Patty Mills, Joe Harris, Blake Griffin. Then they got Cam Thomas, the rookie. He's been pretty good in the preseason and the summer league. So they're already a favorites to go to the finals even without Kyrie. But as the Nets organization, you can't have someone as valuable as Kyrie just sitting out every game. So they're obviously going to have to look at something.
Yeah, kind of my point though is like if you're an Eastern Conference team and you know that Kyrie will not play, then why would you want to trade someone for Kyrie? Because you know that the Nets are going to just have nothing, right? So why would you want
Yeah.
to give the Nets something?
Yeah, that's why it's going to be hard. That's why he's put the Nets organization in a really bad place, especially when we look at. I will say the Nets did sign down KD long term, but Harden, it's been told is making his decision based on how the Nets are able to handle this. So there is a high possibility that Kyrie can single handedly end the Nets franchise everything messes up with Kyrie, he doesn't play at all a single game. Harden leaves. The whole big three was for nothing. The Nets traded away their entire future just for 2 seasons of only KD. So yeah, I do think I agree with you that it's going to be very hard to even find a trade. But I feel like the Nets are. I feel like the Nets will at least attempt discussions.
Yeah, not saying that they won't, but still, it's kind of it's just again, it's going to be difficult to get any team to even talk to you at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Especially since the only team I would think they would have even had a chance with is flipping Ben Simmons, because we know how much Philly doesn't want Ben Simmons, how much Ben Simmons is, how big of a deal Ben Simmons is making it. So I think that was the only place where they had a remote chance. But again, on top of the fact that even if he's traded, he can play. He's going to retire most likely anyways. So it's going to be hard for the Nets to really get anything back. I would say maybe what NBA fans would want is LeBron recruits Kyrie and flips Westbrook for Kyrie. So we get a big three reunion in Brooklyn of the original OKC trio, but that's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, like you said, unfortunately, there's no way.
Yeah,
Um, one other thing I just want to touch on, like Kyrie is just a weird guy in general.
yeah,
Like like the flat Earth thing,
yeah,
just stuff like that. Just he's just too unpredictable, too much of a wild card.
yeah. Like the thing is, like he can believe what he wants, but it shouldn't affect him in essentially doing what is his job. And his job, he's getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play these games, and he's just sacrificing that, especially when he talks about like how he wants to help people in need. He's just sacrificing money that could be used to help a lot of people as well. So I really don't understand why he doesn't want the vaccine, especially since I saw a report that Kyrie doesn't isn't really anti-vax. He doesn't really have a problem with the vaccine. He's just upset that people are losing their jobs because of the vaccine. So he essentially he's not playing these games because he's upset other people lost their jobs over the vaccine. He doesn't even have a problem with the vaccine.
Now, what's funny is that his $35 million per year salary, he could probably give everyone that's lost their job like $20,000.
Yeah, he could help a majority of the people. Like obviously he doesn't need all 30 million to live his life. If he really cared, he could help out a lot of people. No, I'm not saying that like he needs to help out a lot of people, but he should at least do his job. Like he understands that it's bad to lose a job, and in reaction he decides to not do his job and not get paid at all. He's getting going to make nothing this season if he doesn't get the vaccine.
If you were the Nets, would you play him for 41 games?
I mean, it would set kind of a bad precedent for the team, and especially the chemistry. Like obviously the big three do get special treatment, but that is just kind of extreme special treatment that they let him play that. I guarantee if we replaced Kyrie with Joe Harris would be off the team by now. They would not be dealing with him. Joe Harris would be dropped, even though he's a good shooter. But that's just the problem with Kyrie and how valuable he is. But I believe that then what the Nets are doing is good. They're not gonna let him get paid for basically nothing. Especially since if you look at the playoffs, he won't even play half the playoff games. Especially since we can assume that the Nets are going to have a high seed in the playoffs. He's not going to play the first two games of every series, which is just ridiculous. They should show him that they're actually serious about what they're doing, because I feel like that's the Nets' leverage right now is they're telling him you either go all in or you're all out. Instead of letting him play half, they kind of are pressuring him to get it, which I mean is what they want to do. I mean it's not even really pressuring. It's just showing that they want committed teammates, because that's just not fair to Harden, KD, the rest of the team, for Kyrie to just come in and play whenever he wants, basically.
Do you think it makes sense in general for the NBA not to have a full mandate like that this only applies to a couple teams?
I think that like I don't really think this is the NBA's decision at all. This is just like the state mandates.
Well, yeah, my point is that the NBA decided to not have any mandate. So my point is, do you think it makes sense for the NBA to not do a mandate because now it only affects certain teams versus if they did a mandate, it would affect every team?
Yeah, I think that it would be more fair if they just offended the mandate for every team. So so each player on each team is kind of dealing with the same situation. But I can also understand why they didn't do it because they're essentially an employer and they would be rejecting their employees based on vaccination status.
Not to get like political or anything, just in general. Like if
Yeah.
you could choose, would you have it as like no one is required to, or like everyone is required to,
I would
or
say
like in the middle what they're doing right now?
I would say everyone is required to because they can't do no one is required to because of the state. So I'd say you make the playing field even. So
No,
if
no,
Kyrie
but my
doesn't play
point
and
is
Westbrook doesn't play at all, what was that?
my point is if you could if you could if you yourself could just tell the states right now
Oh,
to
okay.
stop their mandate, like would you do that?
I
If you
feel
could pick,
like yeah.
I'll phrase it better. If you
No, I
could
understand what
pick
you're saying.
between the
Yeah.
states ending the mandate and the NBA making a full mandate, which would you pick?
I would say that I would honestly say that it should be each person's individual choice. So I would say if I could decide, I would say no mandate because some people, unlike Kyrie, actually have reasons that for not getting the vaccine, whether it be religious or whatnot. So I would just say like you can play regardless because what the NBA does take safety measures in testing everyone before they play the games anyways. So there's just no possible way the players would be able to play with COVID because especially last season they would have to take 5, 6 tests before a single game. So I would say keep those measures in place and then just let the vaccination decision be everyone's choice.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
And what would you
Um,
think about that? What would you have done?
what would I do personally?
Yeah,
I would say the same as you, only because I think that if I'm just the NBA and I don't have to deal with any of these states, right? Like I'm an entertainment business, right?
yeah,
Like if I lose an entertaining player like Kyrie Irving,
yeah.
like I'm probably going to therefore just make less money or have less viewers, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So just based purely off of that, I would probably rather have no one required.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. But I still do. But they are still taking a lot of safety precautions, so it's not like vaccine or nothing. Too,
No,
because
yeah,
like
for sure.
the entire last season they played without any vaccination mandates at all. So
Yeah, but like it is a little different now just because there's
yeah,
no
because
government
it
restrictions on
exists. Yeah,
anything.
yeah. And then I just wanted to bring up something. So do you have any more stuff to add about Kyrie? Because I want to talk about one more player after this.
Are you going to talk about Jonathan Isaac by chance?
Nope, it's not related to the vaccine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, who do you want to talk about?
It's related to Russell Westbrook, or it is Russell Westbrook.
Oh boy, what's up now?
Let me pull up his stats real quick. Oh yeah, he's played 2 preseason games. Yes, it is preseason games. It's not that big of a deal, but in those 2 games combined, he has 15 turnovers. He almost had a double double in with turnovers. He's just been really sloppy with it. And like the first game he played was against the Warriors, and Russell Westbrook had 2 points in 17 minutes. Then in his third game, which was the most recent game before tonight, they played the Suns, and he had one sec. He had a very low amount of points. Again, he had he had 8 points, and now his minutes was raised up to 26. So 8 plus 2, that's 10. He had 15 turnovers and 10 points in 2 games. What do you think about the Lakers signing of Russell Westbrook? And do you think this is any sign of concern for them, or just it takes some time and it's only the preseason?
Uh, I definitely would be. I would be concerned only because they don't really seem to have like a set plan for this.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, it's not like they have like a Popovich or something to just figure it out. So it is kind of they have LeBron, right?
Yeah,
But um, it is kind of difficult when you have all paint scorers. Someone has to be on the outside, and the problem is that it makes it easier for the other team to neutralize LeBron too, because it's like Russ is standing, say, in the corner, right? They don't have to
yeah,
worry about him, so they can just bring a defender into the paint
yeah.
and double LeBron in the paint. And then it's like if he wants to kick it out, then he can kick it out. But then Westbrook is like on the 3 point line, right?
Yeah.
So he can take a couple dribbles in and maybe do a mid range, or what he would try to do is probably drive, right? But if he tried to drive, then those two defenders from before are still there.
But what usually happens in these situations is Westbrook will shoot from three anyways. Like he did have 5 3-point attempts in the first or second game, I believe. So he will attempt the threes until he makes it, which is playing exactly to the defense's hand. And this is something that I personally predicted exactly what would happen after watching him in OKC and Houston. I'd say he's obviously a great player, Hall of Famer, but I would say he's more of like an individual act than someone who would be a fit for a super team. Because especially now in the NBA, not being able to shoot and at the point guard position it's going to hold you back a lot.
Now the problem that they have, right, is again they have people that are trying to get into the lane.
Yeah,
Like the reason that he actually was very good with Houston, right?
because he everyone around him was a shooter, so they would have Harden out, and they would have him drive in, and then if they don't double him, he just passes. He will score in the paint, but if they do double him, he passes it out. But on the Lakers, they got no shooters. Their best shooter is probably LeBron. So everyone on that team is looking to go into the go rim run, which is kind of what you're saying. So his weaknesses are exposed even more.
Do they have Danny Green on the team still?
No, Danny Green's on the Sixers.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that. I thought he re-signed with the Lakers.
No, he resigned with the Sixers. He got shamed by Lakers fans, and remember he got like death threats and stuff like that. So he just did not want to come back to LA. Went to Philly.
So they just re-signed Dwight Howard then.
Yeah, they re-signed Dwight Howard and they brought Rondo back, but they
So they
did pick
have
up. What was that?
Carmelo.
They got Melo back too.
Well, he was never on the Lakers, but like,
Oh
what
yeah,
do you think?
yeah.
What do you think of Melo? You think he could just pull up for some jumpers?
I mean, he could, but I'm just gonna say it right now. The fact that Melo is on this team is just evidence that this team is just gonna be a massive fail. Because bro, we both know the Carmelo legacy. Just look at all the teams he's been on. He may play good, but he's never gonna win anything. And I refuse to believe him in his what season is he in? Like 16th, 17th, something high.
Too
He's
many.
not as he's not as shifty as he was before. Obviously, I'd say he probably could at least make a decent amount of maybe catch and shoot threes, but he's not going to be the same shot creator he once was. And the Lakers fans are kind of acting like he's prime Mellow and like the elite scorer he isn't right now. So people are kind of getting blinded by just the name Carmelo Anthony compared to what he's really capable of now. So I would say that like that's just a regular vet signing for the Lakers. He's just a big name. So it's I mean it's not even that bad of a signing for the Lakers, but if I were the Lakers, I would be looking for shooters right now. I thought that personally the Lakers should have picked up Buddy Hield instead of Westbrook. Buddy Hield would be perfect because now we also have to realize Russell Westbrook is only efficient when he has the ball. But you know who else on the Lakers needs the ball? LeBron. So they're going to have to figure that out as well. If they had Buddy Hield, he's a really good 3-point shooter. All LeBron would do is he could take control. He would have shooters surrounding him. 80 for a big man isn't even that bad. So I think Buddy Hield would have been a perfect fit for the Lakers, but unfortunately, or fortunately for us Nets fans, LeBron decided to talk to Westbrook beforehand. Now that right there is recruiting. I just don't understand how it's not recruiting because he invited Westbrook over to his house. But I'm just gonna ignore that. But anyways, he talked to Westbrook and he thought that it was a good idea to sign him, but it's not looking that good right now.
All right, now they do have. I'm just going to name a couple other people that might be able to shoot. They have Trevor Ariza, Kent Bazemore, and Kendrick Nunn. What do you think of any of those guys?
I haven't really been following Trevor Ariza that much, but I mean, he obviously was with the Rockets, so he's at least a decent shooter. Ken Bazemore. I mean, I feel like Ken Bazemore is one of those streaky players where like sometimes he turns into Steph Curry, and then sometimes he just can't shoot. So I'd say they have some average shooters, but then their main core is terrible shooters like Westbrook. I will say LeBron's kind of improved in his 3-point shooting, but I
So
wouldn't
Kent
consider he's
Bazemore shot.
a good 3-point shooter.
Kent Bazemore, given it was only 3 attempts per game, but he shot 41% from three last year.
Yeah, but he also had way less minutes and on a way less significant team because I don't think anyone expected the Warriors to make a deep run. So he also
The only
has a
thing is though, like now, right? Like he, I'm just saying, it's a guy he can catch wide open, catch and shoot.
yeah. But I'm also gonna bring in this scenario right here about the 2021 Joe Harris versus the Bucks. Joe Harris was wide. He was wide open for catch and shoots almost every game because all the attention was on KD. When Harden came back, even on 1 foot, there was more attention on him than Joe Harris. Joe Harris was wide open, and Joe Harris is has led the league in 3-point percentage before, and he choked so badly. He the just the pressure of being on a team that actually matters. Like Joe Harris was just having fun before on the D'Lo Nets era. Didn't really have any expectations, just out there running around for fun, performing. No one really expected anything from them. But now when you're in a team with greats like KD, Harden, Kyrie, there's expectations, and I feel like he's gonna face these same expectations when he's playing with LeBron. So we'll have to see. Obviously, some players do better under the stress and pressure and expectations, but we'll have to see.
And now, one thing, just getting your opinion on this, they could just not really play LeBron with Westbrook on the court. Like they could switch them off in the rotation. What do you think of that?
Then I would say, what was the point of trading for Westbrook if you're going to make him as a rotation player? Then why wouldn't you just want Buddy Hield as your rotation player over Westbrook?
The point would be that he carries the load in the regular season, gives all the effort, and then LeBron can
And
kind
then
of focus
LeBron.
on postseason.
Okay, but would you say that? How would they work together in the playoffs, though? Are you just going to say sit Russ in the fourth quarter and have LeBron just
I don't
do
know.
it by
I don't know. It
himself?
depends how Russ like what Russ is really willing to do, right? Because
Yeah,
if he's just turning the ball over every play, like in preseason, like no, you can't have him on the court
yeah.
in the playoffs, right? So,
Mhm. But that's what
uh,
I'm saying. I don't think just LeBron and AD themselves can beat Harden and KD,
now
especially
the thing
since.
about the Lakers, the reason I don't believe in the Lakers really isn't because of Westbrook. It's because we both know, right? Anthony Davis
Yep.
just won't be healthy. Like
Yeah.
he just won't be. It's not even like a question at this point. He
Yeah.
just won't be healthy.
Yeah. When we're talking about injury history, AD has to come to mind immediately. Yeah, that is true. We don't know if we're gonna get like a 40 game season, a 50 game season, a 20 game season from AD. Obviously, if AD's out, the Lakers have no chance. That's it. They're champion. If AD gets injured again, their championship window's over. I would say so. That's LeBron's job. He needs to make sure AD is healthy out there. It doesn't have too much of a workload. So if AD's out, then the story's
I don't
done
know,
for the
man.
Lakers.
LeBron can do a lot of things, but I don't know if monitoring someone's health is one of them.
No, I'm saying not monitor his health, but make sure he doesn't have as big as a load on the court,
I
like
don't know. I still feel
scoring.
like last
Also,
year he didn't even really have that bad though. That's the thing. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if he
yeah,
can stay healthy at all. I mean, he really just is so fragile. Like every game virtually that he plays, I see him like have like a huge fall where it seems like
yeah,
he's just going to be
yeah. I
like
do
done for the
remember
year.
that It looks like he has like an ACL shattering land, or something. But then he's like on the floor in pain. But then he randomly just gets up and he's fine a couple minutes later. So there was like something like that happening every game. Now I don't know if he was just learning acting from LeBron, or if he like actually hurts himself every time he's out there. But he is injured a lot, so we'll have to see how that goes on.
All right, I say we got one last topic for right now.
All right,
I'm just checking in on you right now. Who is your GOAT of basketball?
Kevin Durant, easy.
And are you being serious right now?
Yeah, I'm being serious. Kevin Durant is the greatest player of all time to ever touch a basketball.
You know what? You know what? I think that in a few days or however long, in a couple days, we will not be taking 2 week. For anyone listening, we will not be taking. For anyone still listening, thank you guys. Check out the YouTube as well. Um, uh, in a couple days, we will not be taking any more like 2 week breaks or anything. In a few days, we are going to debate this as a separate episode.
Debate the GOAT that is KD. And also, guys, once the NBA season starts, I'll be putting out more regular content too, so there won't be any long breaks like this. But
Yeah, I
anyways,
will
look
start
forward
back
to
up
the
with the
next
weekly
episode.
NFL too.
Yeah, and look forward to the next episode because I will prove why Kevin Durant is the greatest player of all time. And no, I did not forget about Michael Jordan.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. This is Flagger Foul Sports. We are checking out. We blew just to summarize, we blew the whistle on Kyrie today. Hopefully he ends up playing in the end, for someone. And again, we will be. Oh, and we talked about Westbrook. Hopefully Westbrook starts playing a little better for the Lakers. And again, to finish off, we heard Tarun's take on the basketball goats, so I'm going to be. We're going to be debating that at some point soon. So have a good one, everyone.